to do this podcast now and to start teaching. I've been called to teach. I'm making a business group based on faith to teach this stuff, because there is when I see people that they have everything to be happy and they're still struggling, I'm like, okay, something's got to change, Welcome. I am your host, David Mancella. This podcast has been dedicated to interview incredible minds that became leaders in technology and are helping their organizations change this world for a better place. Today we have with us a very special guest. He's been my friend for many years. I've seen him grow in leadership and technology, and every place he has been, every time that he goes to a place, that company, that organization gets better. And what a beautiful example of how to live a life of progress and prosperity. Zlatko, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, David. I'm very humbled to be in the Leaders in Tech podcast today with you. And here we are.
Awesome. Zlatko, I know right now that you're holding a senior leadership position for architecture, software architecture at the Toronto Police. Is that correct? That's where you are right now?
Yeah, actually, recently, like 2-3 weeks ago, I moved to the auditing section. So I'm Senior IT Auditor right now in Toronto Police.
For Toronto Police. Wow, good move, man. Good stuff. So, as I was telling you before this interview, you're one of the persons that I admire the most. Have you lead your life. Your wife and kids, everybody's so well off. You have a beautiful balance. Wherever you go, you create abundance for everybody through technology, and that requires great leadership. So I want to get the insights on how you were able to become this person that I know, this amazing person that is leading people to make this life a better place, this world a better place. So let's look back, Zlatko.
Yeah.
I want you to think about your high school days. You were graduating high school. What was in your mind back then?
Well, I did dedicate myself in a computers basically in very early age. So basically when I was starting high school, I knew that somehow I'm gonna be ending up in the IT, because I had a very IT influence from my brother's best friend. He is one of the I would say very, very successful in the IT world person. He lives down in the States, Manhattan, runs his own company. But at those times, he was kind of influencing. The computers were not what are we knowing right now, right? We were very, very far from that one. So I had my first one, Spectrum ZX Sinclair, something like that. It was amazingly 8 kilobytes memory.
It's like my first computer was a Commodore 64, right? Remember the Commodore 64?
That was even before that.
Even before, wow, that's very old.
yeah. It was a very little small computer, but yeah, amazing. I mean, I start with his help. I start doing my first steps in programming and kind of hooked it up since the get-go. And
how old were you?
Well, that was like 14, 15 years when I was still in high school, starting high school. And throughout the high school, I chose to be in a program which was mathematics and informatics. So basically,
in high school?
Yeah.
So where are you from, Zlatko? So for the audience.
Originally I'm from Macedonia. At that time was Yugoslavia, but no more exists. So
it's no longer Yugoslavia.
No. Right now it's a North Macedonia, if you ask me. So officially.
So your high school had a specialization of mathematics and computer science?
Yes, we did have that education, which was like a streamlined education. So you choose from we had 4 years high school. So first year of high school, which is grade what comes 9 here. You choose kind of what you want to do. You want to do more like science classes, like physics stuff. You want to do mathematics, computers, or you want to do more like a literacy classes. So I chose mathematics, informatics, and kind of since that age, I streamlined myself to be on this sort of line of business. I mean, that time just very enthusiastic and interesting
Right.
ideas, but a long time finishing high school, getting I had to do 1 year mandatory army service. Unfortunately, waste of time, but if you ask me, but
You know,
but
for me, I actually,
yeah, well, you
you
get
know what
some.
though? I did 2 years of military service.
Yeah,
And now that I
I
look
mean,
back, I got the discipline. And
yeah. I
discipline is
mean,
very
you don't
important.
get anything on a technical level, but you get a lot of on the mindset and
Life.
life experience and stuff like that, which also helped me throughout my life, because mostly as of my 18 years old, since I finished like high school and after the military service, I'm on my own, basically living on my own all the time.
Okay. And it gave you the basis, right? The discipline, the
Yeah.
basis to live a life worth living. I think it's very important. There's a lot of people, especially kids nowadays, that they don't get the discipline. They don't get it at home. They don't get it at school. And they end up having a horrible life just because they don't know how to discipline themselves.
If they don't have a smartphone, they're terrified, so they don't know what they're gonna do with their life.
Yeah. So after military service, by the
Yeah,
way,
was
I interview a lot of people in this podcast. You know how blessed you and I are that we found our passion early on. Like some people get into leadership in technology and it was just by coincidence, or they get hired to do a role in a business and then they get asked to help the IT department and their life changes because they find computer science and they fall in love with it, but they had to learn it on the go, you know. You and I mean, I'm the same way as you. I was playing with an Apple IIe computer when I was 15 years old, and then I got into a Commodore when I was 16, programming since then, right?
exactly. I mean,
And passionate about it, fascinated by it, right?
yeah. I mean, it's always it's the thing that you don't know what's behind the corner, right? So you always learn something else, and it's you seeing that this is the high tech. I'm gonna learn it. Boom! Next day there's something else.
Better, faster, easier.
Exactly. Yeah, and you have to catch up with everything. I mean, whatever you're interested in, of course, you cannot split yourself in 1,000 pieces and get every single corner of the IT, but at least what you're interested in, you focus there, you make your mind, and you just read.
Learn, right? One of the conditions for our career, for sure, is never stop learning,
Exactly.
right? But I think that also translates to life. My dad says the last day that I'm going to learn is the day that I die. I'm going to learn how to die.
That's true. That's true. Very deep, and that's true.
So what happened after military service?
Yeah, then what was the years of university, and again living on my own. Finished in Slovenia in that time, like what was like 1,300 kilometers from home. Really coming back home maybe once or twice a year, just to see how it's going on. Then was all the Balkan wars, which kind of changed my way of thinking where I'm gonna be and how it's gonna be my life going forward. So that's why me and my wife decided to move over to Canada, and this house.
But did you go to university then? So you went to university when the war happened?
Yeah, indeed. I was in the middle of it, so it happened in the middle of my student and university years. And well, it is what it is. So you have to live with that. You have to find a way to go through and finishing everything what you started. And then went back home, got married to my lovely wife, and
Are you still married to, by the way?
yeah, had a kid, and then we decided to, my lovely daughter, and then we decided to move to Canada, since looking forward for having a life in those sort of conditions, I would say post-war and everything, and transitions from my countries, from what it was to the new way of living. It was kind of, I would say, you don't know what to expect, right? So you can't really plan, right? So, and that's why we actually wanted to try and see how we're gonna do in Canada. I chose Canada because, first of all, my brother was here, so you go where your family is, right? So, right. And he came earlier than me, and that's how we end up here, and started looking for jobs.
Now, before you continue, did you ever get employment in computer science after university?
Oh yeah, back home I also was working for a private sector and companies, and I managed to get all the certificates that were affordable at that time from Microsoft. So becoming a professional, certified developer, certified trainer. I delivered over, I don't know the number, but probably over 100 Microsoft classes, like official courses, starting from networking.
Also, you became a Microsoft teacher. You were giving Microsoft classes.
Trainer. They call it trainer.
That trainer, yes, whatever it is.
MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, yeah. So
I remember that was one of the hardest things to get from Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
right?
that's somewhere around 94, 96, something around that time. And delivering, and started as a company I was working, that was a Microsoft official certified training center, like Microsoft CPEC. And that was a part-time job, by the way. So that was my job from 5 to 10 evening. From 9 to 5 was the regular programmer job, and then was the other one, trainer job, 9 to 5.
Okay, so you were a coder already. So you were actually building software during the day, and then at night you had another job.
Right.
This is something that I want to emphasize for the listeners. This podcast is to help people get where you and I are now, right? There is no such a thing as a shortcut in life. If you want something, you have to work for it. Look, Zlatko, he had 2 jobs. I actually had 2 jobs for over 10 years too. I had my full-time job and I had my consulting practice. That's how I started my business. And this is about leadership. That if you want to become a good leader, you have to be a leader of your own life first. You cannot be a leader of other people if you don't know how to lead your life.
You have to do the homework. You have to do the homework first and organize yourself first. Make sure that that's working, and then you can either help people, serve as an example, or do whatever you think is the best for you, right? Yeah, it was busy. Yeah, it was busy time. It was very busy time, like always in my life, everything. And then before I joined that company, we were doing starting 1994. I was working for another company. We were building a banking system from scratch. So basically at that time, talking 1994, banks were still, all of the banks, I would say, really were doing the terminal-based banking, meaning that you have a giant, I don't know, IBM or whatever server, and then you have a mainframe, and then you have a terminals just hook up through the cables around the buildings, like a monitor and keyboard, and that's it, right? So there's no smart PC like a station. You just directly work on the terminal, and mostly those were like well, my God, getting a little sentimental how old I am, because there was like a COBOL which was still running there on the on the mainframes, right? So we came up with idea to have a smart PC as a client, in between some Windows server to run the middle tier as a component, and then the server, the database, which is the backend. So like kind of three-tier architecture.
The architecture, which, by the way, in the 90s, that was revolutionary. Like
Exactly.
talking about three-tier architecture in the 90s was like, woof, leading technology. It's like talking about ChatGPT today, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was the time. And then we actually went to, it was in Hanover in Europe. It's called CBIT forums, and we presented our solution. And basically, we were only 3 companies in the world at that time, between Siemens, Philips, and our small company, which was called Exim at that time, that we presented some sort of client-server solution where you employ the personal computers, like PCs, as a smart client, and then you have components that are running somewhere in the middle tier, and then you go to the backend server. And yeah, it was very, very like awarding to us, because none of the big banks or anything like it had anything in terms of client server architecture. They were all like a mainframe.
Amazing, hey?
That was amazing.
So it must have been very hard for you to make the choice to move to another country, having so much success already in your own country as a IT professional, right?
Yeah. But again, I mean, I took off from the other reasons, but at the same time, it was something that is called challenge. That's right. Driving me all my life, and I saw it as a big challenge to me. So, and I was thinking, if I'm here where I am in this small country, I'm pretty much sure I can at least do something in a bigger country, right? So, and that was the challenge that I kind of threw it to myself and hopefully and accepted and trying to live through it. So, and as far as I'm now, I'm very satisfied with that. With the results.
That leap of faith is big, and you had already a baby and a kid, right? A kid and a wife, right?
Yeah, and it never stops. Like you're just pushing forward and forward. You're just pressing pedal to the metal and just go forward.
And keep learning, right? And keep being
exactly
a better person, right? So what happened when you landed in Canada?
In Canada, I started. Since I had those certificates and stuff, I started teaching courses. That was the easiest job. I mean, if you have to mind that was also time after 9/11, like several years after 9/11, and it was very hard for the IT to find a job and everything. So first,
it was the dot-com bubble, right?
Yeah,
it was the financial crisis in technology.
2002. So. I landed that job for 6 months. I was doing the teaching and at the same time like a part-time job programming for another company here, until I saw an opportunity in a company called Maxim Analytics, where I put my resume and met you.
Yes. Yeah, I remember our first job interview. I saw all your credentials and all your experience, and I'm like, how come you're not working for a big bank already?
Well, I came September 2002, and I started Maxim, I believe April 2003, something like that. So again, I mean, it took me several months, and I'm very glad that I landed to that job, and I met you, and which since day one we became like a very good. We started to have a very good relationships in terms of, first of all, you were my boss, and then we transferred this in very, very nice and long-lasting friendship relationship.
Yeah, we come along a long ways, that's for sure. And like I said, I've seen you blossom into something very special. And I tell you that, not to flatter you, but, I know so many people that have a lot of material success, but are not fulfilled, are not happy. And the way that you have lived your life, you're always happy. You're always, it doesn't matter if the sky is falling and, and the backyard is burning on fire, you're still find a way to go through life in a beautiful, beautiful state. How do you do that? How do you accomplish that? What's the secret?
It's not just a technical life that's professional, my professional life, right? So that's only, I would say, half of it, right? So the rest of it, it's the actual life, right? So you have to, I'm a very outdoor person, so thankfully my wife is as well. So we are trying to enjoy the life, every moment of it. So if we don't work, we are outside. If it's a good weather, taking bikes, running. You have to, the point is, you have to find that little ingredient that will fulfill you the rest of your time, right? You can work 24/7, you're going to burn out yourself, right? But you have to have some outlet to rest your soul and to rest your mind, right? So for me, that's outdoors and my music. I love music.
It's funny, that's another pattern that I'm finding. Highly successful leaders in technology, they tend to be musicians too. And it's like computer science is very close to math, and math is very close to music. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, you can do that. You can connect the dots, yes. Exactly. And despite I'm on a techie side and I love the techie, and when it comes to music, I adore like a natural sound. I adore the acoustic sound. But despite it, I always want to put some spin on the technology, so I like to put some electrical stuff on it. So, and that's what makes the magic, right? So, you have all the acoustic stuff, which sounds great and everything, but then when you put a little bit, you electrify that sound. Oh, it's coming to that.
Right. And then your synthesizers and mixers and.
Yes. Yes. I don't like much the I'm still on the rock and roll side of music, and I love that, but I still want to put a little spin of the electric stuff on it. So not much in the dance or hip hop. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not my type of music. But I like to experiment, sort of say, with the acoustical ways and electronic.
And that's a very important point. I know Zlatko personally, like we've said before, we work together in many projects. He's a great leader in technology. And sometimes we were working 15, 16, 18 hours a day for a period of time. I remember one time when we were building this massive banking system, school banking system. Yeah. And we worked until 3 a.m. for 2 months, 6 weeks or something like that. And I remember coming down from the office and having Greek food at the Greek place in downtown Toronto, right?
And beer.
And beer, yes.
You can't go without beer.
But the outcome was we delivered the architecture, we delivered the base, the foundation of that big project, and then we slow down again, right?
Yep.
Meaning slow down again, working only 8 to 10 hours a day. That's my my version of slowing down and going back to our families and going back to entertainment, but healthy entertainment, not being stuck in a basement playing video games until 2 a.m. That's actually an addiction, right?
Yeah.
But my point is, I actually had to learn from you because I couldn't do that. I couldn't slow down. Like you, I knew how you will take a month off and go off to Europe and ski in the Alps with your family. And I was still working 17 hours a day, 16 hours a day, you know? And I'm like, how can he do that? And I couldn't. And it's just a mindset and putting the life priorities in life. So I actually burnt out. I burnt out a couple of times because I couldn't stop. Right?
Yeah, we talked a lot for this conversation, and I was telling you, I mean, you can't let yourself to burn. As much as you love it, as much as you need it, everyone loves, everyone has passion to what things that they're doing. I can play guitar maybe for 10 hours, right? But that's not the point, right? So you play until you feel it. You program it until you feel it. It's the same. It's the same thing. You can stare at the screen and trying to get something solved in whatever you're writing a code, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. Take off. Go out, do something else, play something, whatever fits your soul, right? 5 minutes sometimes is enough, right? You come back, you'll solve it in a heartbeat. Yeah. That's my philosophy. And when you're working, but then you need to take a break, right? So winter is skiing for sure. I love it, skiing. Like you go on the mountains, you recharge yourself, come back, you're ready to rock and roll. You're ready to work as much as you want.
And it's so important. I think it's the first time we touched this topic in this podcast. That's so important to have those recharging moments, those breaks, especially if you want to be a good leader. There's nothing worse than a burnt out leader, because a burnt out leader goes and gives hell to their people for no reason.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
You burned out, everybody's burned out around you. So you want to make a healthy surrounding where people will appreciate themselves first and appreciate you at the end, because you're opening that area where you can now be more perspective and more thoughtful and more have more results if you do versatile stuff, right? So that's why, I mean, if you see even in big companies like Google, right? You go and everybody's amazed, oh, Google have a pool table or something, right? So I mean, that's not just for showing there, right? So we're a rich company, we can do whatever we like. Like that's like those are the outlets for people who are basically working and saying, I have enough now, I'm gonna go and play some pool table, right? And doesn't matter, you play 5 minutes, you play 1 hour, you go back, you're gonna be much more refreshed than anything else. So those little things are adding up a lot.
With that advice, this podcast is so worth it, because I know the people that are listening are going to be able to have a change of mind after this. So thank you so much for that, Zlatko. What happened to your career after Maxam? How long did you stay there for? Oh, by the way, so people don't know, Maxam is one of the largest laboratories in North America now. It's been growing crazy. But when we were there, it was a mid-sized company, and we helped get it to a multinational corporation.
Exactly. Yeah. After that, I think I was like maybe 5-6 years there. Then I took off, and mostly because we moved as well in downtown area to live, and I started working for a charitable organization called the United Way. Probably everybody knows that. Worked there for a year and something, and then moved to shortly as a advisor to CIBC, and then moved to Symantec. The corporation now does not exist. It was merged with Broadcom Technologies, but at that time we had the product which was called Norton Armored Virus. Probably people
that product was very popular, right? right?
Yeah, and it still is. I'm still using it on my computer though.
Wow, because you had McAfee and you had Norton, and they were the two biggest antivirus in the world, right?
Yes, and there was a Kaspersky as well, but I think Norton was and Symantec was the biggest of all three of them. McAfee, by the way, does not exist anymore. I mean, it was nowadays it's purchased with Twilio or something like that company. I'm not sure.
They got bought out.
Yeah, so none of this big exist anymore, except Kaspersky is still there, but not really popular nowadays in the States or North America for whatever reason.
How did you end up in the Toronto police?
It was a opening that that was basically moving from implementing what I had experienced for whatever those years, maybe 20 years in coding and programming and leadership. This was the enterprise architecture position. So I just wanted to try and see there. At the same time, I wanted to kind of contribute something to the community, starting with United Way, because these are not profit organizations, right? These are Toronto Police Services company, and United Way, it's a non-for-profit organization, right?
So you're really helping people by working for these places. Like, and don't get me wrong, Toronto Police is huge. It is thousands of employees, and right?
Yes, it is. It is huge. It's one of the biggest in North America. We are talking about New York, LA,
and Toronto.
Toronto, yeah, Boston, Miami. Those are the one of the biggest.
The biggest. That's incredible. And another story that I love about your career in technology is that you have been able to change disciplines inside technology because of your leadership skills. Because when you started working with me, I hired you as the senior database manager for the entire organization. But then, you started switching between, as you moved up in your corporate career, you started switching. Imagine now you're a senior auditor, right? So you're leading the audit department for the Toronto Police, and you just left enterprise architecture, right?
Yeah. Now I'm not leading. I'm part of the audit department, auditor and QA department. That's what it's called. And it's very, very interesting and challenging role now, because I did have experience with audit, but not from the other side, not from the audit side, right? So, and there's a lot to digest and learn. And having the 30 plus IT or coding or programming skills now helps me see the things from the other side and clearly point and help. I mean, this audit position is just it's internal audit, so that means we are helping our organization to close the gaps, if any, whatever we find, and be more prepared in any sort of situation, starting from disaster recovery, business continuity. Imagine you dialing 911 and nobody's answered. There is no phone lines, right? So
on a city with almost 8 million people.
so it has to work 24/7 and it has to work 100%, right? So there's a lot
that's got to be very fulfilling too, right, Zlatko? Working for a place where you're moving the needle towards a better city, better country, right?
So you have to make sure that everything is lined up, covered, and has a real business continuity plans, and everything is in place and it's working as it has to be. So that's what we're trying to achieve, and that's the role that we have to look again and again and again, just to make it sure that it's working all the time and people have that service what they're expecting to do.
That's beautiful. Zlatko, if you had a time machine and you could go back in time, what would you tell your 30-year-old version of you?
Just stick to your dreams.
Stick to your dreams.
Exactly, and make it happen. Work hard and make it happen. That's all what it is. So, no matter what is it a tech site? Could be a doctor, could be a lawyer. For me personally, I wouldn't change a bit. I would do the same in a heartbeat. But for the broader audience, find yourself, right? And love it, what you're doing, and do it with heart, first of all. Do it with passion. Money will come back. I mean, maybe not at the beginning, maybe at the end. Who knows? That's a lottery, but you don't drive yourself with that. You drive with your passion and challenge yourself from every single step.
That is beautiful. Which, I just interviewed a doctor in psychology, and she helps people find their passion, because she says most of the people that are depressed, most of the people that have anxiety, is because they are not living the life they're supposed to be living, either because they are in a job that pays a lot of money but is not fulfilling for them, right? Or maybe there is just a job that they have to do to make a living, but is not what they were meant to be in life.
Well,
it's what a sad way to live your life completely unfulfilled, right?
Yeah, you have to be living it every day, and if you look back and you say, "Oh, I hate what I'm doing, and I don't want to get up because I know what's gonna happen to work," like that's bad. I mean, first of all, it's a bad influence to yourself, because you're focusing on your mind on the bad stuff. Stay positive, like think on the things that you love and doing it.
It's beautiful. And what you said is so true. Money may not come back at the beginning or in the middle. It will come back at the end. It's still a lottery. However, if you do what you love, you're going to do it hard, and you're going to have hard times. How many times we were almost crying, Zlatko, because the system came down, right? And we had thousands of people without work. So my point is, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Just because you like something doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And then I think we're going to close the loop into the discipline part, because it's the discipline that makes you stay at that position, at that job, at that career, knowing that things are going to get better if you apply yourself.
Exactly.
It's the discipline.
Exactly. And I remember 2 points when we were working in Maxim. If our time allows, I would like to mention and give the picture to the audience of what is the basically access to how do you approach to the things. So remember when we were with our director in Muskoka, so you were outside doing the burgers or hot dogs, whatever it was, and you were constantly like singing, dancing, and doing the stuff, right? And we could see you through the window. And I remember our director Pierre at that time said, "You see this guy? I love his passion. He has passion in everything that he is doing." And that kind of resonates with me all the time, and have that picture, because seeing you like even doing small things, regardless, I mean, it was lunchtime, so you were doing the burgers and hot dogs. It's minus outside, but it's the passion that drives you. Still have that bit inside, doing the stuff, and that's what it is. I mean, those small things tells a lot for a person, right? So for myself, I also remember one day we were out with my wife, and we came like maybe 12 to 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just said, "Okay, let me check the servers like before I go to bed." And I saw that the servers were down, so I took my car and went to Maxim. And it just came naturally, right? So and I was there all night. Then the other person came over there. We took the service up and running because morning shift has to work. And I wasn't expecting anything. Like, it's just a job, right? So I'm the DBA. I have to take a look at that. I have to take care of it, right? So I was ready to go. And then Pierre came to me. So I very appreciate what you did, because that tells that you do care for the job, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, there's some extra stuff that he offered and didn't for me, but that was beside the point. Like, to me, was only, oh, this is a problem, let's go and solve it, right? And that's the attitude,
responsibility, right?
That's the attitude that I would, I guess, actually suggest to get it from and apply it every bit, every step of the way, whoever is doing whatever the job is doing, right? So don't look the outcomes, what it's gonna be for you if you do this job. Just react upon the situation and take the ownership of the things that you're doing, and then that will be pretty much your reward, and don't expect anything in return.
It's beautiful. And so well put. If we had more people like you in the world, this would be a completely different world, man. And it's that responsibility, the love for what you're doing, not necessarily for the money you're getting, but the responsibility that you know that your job matters, and if you don't fix the situation, somebody else is going to lose their job.
Exactly.
It's such a beautiful way to live. There is nothing but blessings and abundance if you just follow that pattern. And it's all about following patterns. Exactly. The other choice will be to realize that the service were down, and you will be bitter and say, it's midnight and they're not paying me for this, and you just roll into bed. And you're conscious, right? And your conscious starts to, right? What do you choose on? You choose positive or negative. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Hey, you were my boss, and I learned from the best. So.
No, come on. Oh man, my God. We were kids, brother. We were kids also were 25 years ago. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, time flies here. I don't want to think about it, but
that's why I dedicated myself to do this podcast now and to start teaching. I've been called to teach. I'm making a business group based on faith to teach this stuff, because there is when I see people that they have everything to be happy and they're still struggling, I'm like, okay, something's got to change,
Yeah, well, I was happy before when I had a smaller wages. I'm happy now, and I guess I'll be happy in the future. It's not about the money, it's the fulfillment in your life, and the quality of life, how you live it with what you have. So I mean, I could drive
with what you have at this moment.
Exactly. I could drive Lamborghini if I want, right? And put myself in debt to my ears. But the question is, do I want this? Do I love this? What that means to me, right? To me, car is just to get the point A to point B, right? So my Mazda is pretty much enough for doing that, right?
Exactly.
and that's why you put your priorities in the place where you want to be, and that's your success.
Right, and that doesn't mean you don't need money, because you also spend 30, 40
everybody
days
needs money
in Europe skiing in the best ski hills in the world, and that requires money. But it's where do you put your priorities, and what's the happiness that you're gonna get out of your activity?
Yeah, but even that money, you just don't go, oh, I want to go tomorrow. I planned that like a year ago, and you catch all the discounts and everything. So at the end, you're gonna enjoy that vacation for much more cheaper than if you just decide, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna go Austria. Like, doesn't work like that. I don't live like that, right? So I planned that a year ago. So instead of costing me like $1,000, it's gonna cost me instead of it $300, and that's it.
Right.
Use your air miles plans, use everything you got, but at the end, you know what you want, and you know that you're gonna enjoy it there. And now, if you spend a little less, you're gonna enjoy it even more.
Amazing. It's just the attitude. Zlatko, thank you so much for being in this show. I want to respect your time. I know you're a busy leader in technology. Can you please tell me just one more answer to this question? If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
Well, yeah, that's what is my motto, right? So enjoy your life in any step, in any time, the way you like it, with the things and people around yourself. Like, you can't do it by yourself. It has to be people around yourself.
And the right people.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, family you cannot choose, but friends you can choose. And you have to choose very wisely to be surrounded with positive energy friends like yourself in first place, and enjoy the life. If you're surrounded with negative energy, you're gonna be negative for sure. You can't get plus from minus.
It's almost contagious. You're right. You have to be so careful who you let into your circle, inner circle. And positive people will encourage other people. Negative people will disencourage other people.
Exactly.
Right. And it's your choice. You want to have a cloud over your head, or you want to be under the sunshine. It's your choice. Exactly. Regardless. How many times we have had financial crises and environmental crises and COVID? Remember COVID?
Yeah.
Choose to be happy. Brother, thank you so much, Zlatko. If people would like to get in touch with you, ask you more questions, where can they find you?
It's very easy. Zlatko at zlatko.ca.
Beautiful. Zlatko at zlatko.ca. That's ZLATKO for the audience. Brother, thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of the week.
Thank you very much for having me. God bless you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.